This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. You remember a couple years ago, before we had our beautiful daughter, we was going to become foster parents.
Correct.
But we couldn't because I got pregnant. They were like, hey, you got to wait until I get pregnant. It was a whole situation.
And I was having a whole meltdown.
Yeah, because you was super scared.
I was like, what if I fail as a mother? And
Yeah. So this one is kind of about a foster kid.
Okay.
So I feel like our knowledge of going through it and trying to become foster parents, we have a better understanding of everything.
Right.
Okay, let's start this podcast. Jaliek Rainwater was born on August the 2nd, 1995. He faced many challenges just as a newborn. His mother was an alcoholic and she was addicted to cocaine. He was born with drugs in his system.
That's sad.
Because of his mother's addiction to drugs, she lost custody of him. He was placed into the foster care system.
Yeah.
He was not placed in a normal foster care system. He was actually placed in a therapeutic foster care system.
What is the difference?
Therapeutic foster care system is a specialized form of foster care that is designed to provide temporary homes and support for children with emotional, behavior, or mental health needs. These children may have experienced trauma or hardship leading to their additional care. Jaleik was only 12 years old when he went missing from his adoptive parents' home in Greenwich, New York. Jaleik was born into a difficult life, born with crack and cocaine addiction and entering and leaving 6 different foster homes before being adopted by Stephen Kerr and Jocelyn McDonald in 2002. Because of his abuse he suffered in his early childhood, he was not an easy child to take care of. His parents stated that he would become violent at any time, his temper tantrum would last a long time, and that his siblings were sometimes afraid of him. His former foster family that was planning to adopt him actually backed out because something happened with Jaleik and their child.
Oh, so he didn't get adopted?
So the family before the Stephen and Jocelyn, they was going to adopt him. So the family before them was going to adopt him. But a situation that happened between their kid and him made them like, no, we can't bring him around our child.
Okay.
His parents described him as very intelligent and a happy boy. Usually you see him with a smile across his face. And it's so true. Like I saw some of his pictures I showed you. He always had like a big, beautiful smile. Mm-hmm. Jaleik lived with the Kerrys, but they didn't have a traditional home. They lived in the rural New York parts and they had no running water or any electricity.
These were the people that adopted him?
Yes.
How can you adopt somebody if you don't even have electricity?
I remember like when we were trying to become foster parents, they was like, you need this.
Right.
This.
We needed a fire extinguisher. We needed a map of
Our home.
our home, labeling all the exits. We needed to hang up a phone number if the child ever decided that he wanted to reach out for help. We needed a bedroom a certain size with a certain bed. There was so much.
There was a lot, and I was stressed out because
and then the thing too, like we couldn't have any food on the floor. Like say on our pantry, like say sodas, like we couldn't put them in the very bottom on the floor. They had to be up on a shelf. Like that was just mind blowing to me. And then we had to have a medicine cabinet, put a lock in it. It was
that was just part of it. Like
so it just I guess I'm so shocked when they were able to adopt these kids. We weren't even adopting, we were just fostering. But they were able to adopt these kids with no electricity.
Well, limited
Electricity.
But they had no running water. Shoot, they made sure, like, lady was checking our water. She went out check our tank. She checked everything when she was here.
Everything. And then, like, we couldn't even have people over that weren't authorized or on a list.
They had to check them.
Background check.
That's why I say when I hear so many kids in the foster care system, and I'm like, They live like that?
How though?
That's because they don't check, really. How Our Lady checked us so hard, she wasn't playing. And then when she found out I was pregnant, you're like, sorry, you can't do it, ma'am.
Right. No, and I mean that I feel like they should take these extra measurements because it's better to be over cautious than have an accident and regret it later. But it's just mind blowing that they didn't have the basic needs. To me, that's a basic need.
It get worse, kind of.
All right, let's go.
They only slept in one room. And then like their daughter had like a little corner to herself. But they had like 2 bedrooms. So and all they had 4 kids and 2 adults. So 6 people living in a little house.
In a 2-bedroom.
But they all slept in one room where they all had like a spot, but the daughter, she only had like her own little area.
So there's 6 people, including the adults, sleeping in one bedroom.
Yes.
What do they use the other bedroom for?
I don't know.
When was this done? What year?
2007.
Wow.
No, he was adopted by them in 2002. He went missing.
Still, it's the new century. Goodness gracious. Okay.
This may have been a negative impact on Jalik's emotional well-being, causing him to lash out even more at his family. Jalik did not receive the treatment or medication for his emotional issues. His family stated at the time of his disappearance, he was more suicide and homicidal.
Aww.
Because the type of program he was in, they supposed to got him therapy, set him. It's like they supposed to did a lot for him, but they didn't. They actually kept the money.
Yeah, I know they failed him since they sent him to a home with no running water, no electricity. And those are the basic physical needs.
Right.
You know, mental, then you start to notice, okay, somebody has a mental issue, but everybody needs running water and electricity.
On October the 23rd, 2007, Kerr, the adoptive father, called a crisis hotline and explained that he wanted to reverse the adoption, saying that Jalik's behavior was out of control and he threatened a small child attending their homeschool group. The crisis worker organized a respite care for Jaleik, saying that reversing the adoption was not possible. Jaleik went to stay with Tom and Elaine, who cared for him in the past. Elaine said that he was the perfect child when he was there. He would read all the books, like she had like a whole collection of books, and he would just read it all day long. Plus, he would walk their dog. He was obsessed with their dog. She said that the adoptive parents gave him some homework and also a letter to write. But let me tell you something about the homework a little bit. When I read into this, it's kind of weird. He went to a homeschool, right? But their bio child, he went to a private school.
Oh, wow.
You know how much their private school was a month? $7,000.
That's why they couldn't afford no electricity, no running water.
Do you know how much money they got for Jaleik each month?
How much?
$3,000.
So they were using Jalik.
Oh, he wasn't the only kid that they was like adopted from it. So private
Fostering?
No, they adopt another kid.
But when you adopt, you get less money than when you foster. So it's...
Probably because of the type of program he was in.
So he was still getting paid?
They was still getting paid. So that was getting $3,000 for him and a little girl. I think it was a little girl. Don't quote me. It's a little girl, little boy. I didn't look into that part. That was getting money for them too.
So how many kids total were they fostering?
2, if you count Jaleik and the other little person. So it's 2, and then you got their kids. So Jaleik was in a homeschool while their kid was like going to regular school, private school.
Right.
So when Jaleik was there, Elaine, she took him to like a little Halloween fair, and she said he loved it. That he told her that he wanted to go back next year, and he also told her that like, hey, I won't work at the hunting house to scare people. As he was there, he started telling her stories about what was going on at home. He said that they all live like in a one little bedroom and stay together, that he's not allowed to use the toilet inside because he didn't fix the toilet paper the way that Stefan liked it. And he told him he's not allowed to use the bathroom anymore inside their home.
So he has to go outside like a dog?
He said Stefan had a very anger problem. He gets mad at people very easily. He said he was very rude and mean to me a lot of time. He returned home on November the 1st. Although it alleged that Stefan had plans to send him to another respite home the next day, it appeared that Stefan didn't want Jaleik in his house or around his children. They went to Stephen's family home. So his family had like a little cabin somewhere.
But they didn't have no running water and electricity.
Now, this is a different house. This is like the mom and dad, well, the grandparents of Jalik's. Jalik went missing on November the 1st from his paternal grandparents' home. They went to Red Robin for dinner. That was the last time anyone other than Stephen saw Jalik. Stephen's supposed to be washing Jalik that night. And he stated he woke up around 7:30 a.m. to find a note allegedly written by Jalik stating that, "Dear everyone, I'm sorry for everything. I won't bother you anymore. Goodbye, Jalik." This note seemed to have the idea that he ran away.
Right.
But Stephen, he didn't call the police till 9 a.m. He supposedly went and checked around looking for him and all that stuff. I'm sorry. Get a little mad because what he said that what he ran away to pissed me off a little bit. He said he ran away to be in a gang, like a 12-year boy in the country, in a rural. Where you find a gang at? Like, how is that like your train of thought? He said he either ran away or perhaps he committed suicide. Which of these courses aligned with the note that Jalik wrote? But Elaine, she didn't believe that. The note that he wrote, she said she saw him writing it. You know, in the beginning, Stephen made Jalik write letters, like I'm sorry letters to each body. So to the person like at the homeschooling and all of them, so he wrote a note to everybody saying he was sorry for his behavior. So Elaine was like, no, like that's not a goodbye note. That's like a note him apologizing for. She's like, she didn't believe that he ran away or suicidal at all because she like, hey, I was just spending them couple of days with him. He was a happy little boy. He was laughing. He was singing. She didn't have any problems out of him them couple of days. In January of 2008, Stephen was listed of POI in his son's disappearance due to his inconsistency.
POI is person of interest.
Thank you. In his story, Stephen driving in his van in Greenwich after midnight of the night of Jalik's disappearance, at a time which he claims to be sleeping bad that night.
So he said that he was asleep, but somebody else caught him on the road?
Yeah, he was sleep driving, but of course, you know.
He was sleep driving?
I'm just messing with you.
I know, that makes no sense.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be sleeping bad. That's what he told everybody in the cops, right?
But obviously they found out otherwise.
Cell phone records show that he took a different route to his home that night. So that's another thing that he lied about. To many, it may appear that Stephen is deeply involved in the case of Jalik. It's disheartening that no conviction has been made in this case, although I believe that this case is still open to this day. Jocelyn, she passed the lie detector test. Stephen, he denied it. Even though they both was like, hey, we're going to take one. Let's take it together. We got this.
He denied it? He never took one?
They have since moved to West Rupert, Vermont. Originally, they lived in Greenwich, New York. The pair protest that they're innocent and state that they subscribe to the theory that Jalik just ran away and joined the gang. It's a gang for me. I'm like...
If they know what gang he joined, why didn't they go looking for him?
And where did he find a cane? He was homeschooled.
It makes no sense.
Investigator appealed the information on Kerr were about on November the 1st and November the 2nd. In February 2008, police conducted a search warrant on Kerr's father's home, where Jalik was staying when he disappears. They seized a computer to try to determine if the machine was used to write the letter which the goodbye letter was on. But they couldn't prove or disapprove this theory. Days after searching, Kerr and McDonald filed a lawsuit against the police department alleged that they'd been illegally detained and the search was improper. Jalik's adopted grandmother, Barbara, has been very active in the search to find him. She even filed custody for him after he went missing, but was denied. So the reason why she filed custody of him to get like rights and stuff over his case and stuff. So she can like lead the searches, but she wanted to be the one control the case.
She was trying to get custody of him so she would have basically like the power of attorney. She would have like a say so on everything that happens with his case.
She said, Jaleik, he was a beautiful child, and he didn't deserve anything that happened to him. She said that she think he died that night. She don't think that he made it outside, like, of their home. Her and Jaleik, they had a beautiful relationship. For his 10th birthday, she asked him, like, hey, where do you want to go? He said, to SeaWorld. And they got on a plane, and she took him to SeaWorld. And she asked him, she's like, if you can go anywhere in the world to live, where would you do? He said, I would choose anywhere my wife want to live because I love her so much and I love my kids and my wife.
Oh.
This young boy was already dreaming of his future wife and loving her so strongly. And that's so sad to see that his adoptive family didn't really give him the care and need that he supposedly have. She even said that Stefan was very abusive towards him. That one day she actually saw him dunk Jaleik in a creek.
Wow.
Like was trying to physically drown this boy. And since then, she hasn't seen her other grandkids because she's doing this and fighting for Jaleik and going against and saying like, hey, I think they killed him, or not them, but like Stefan had something to do with it. She's not allowed to be around her other grandkids at all. So she hasn't seen them in years. And it's sad to say this, that's happening to her because she's fighting for her other grandchild that's, not even blood related to her, but she doesn't care. She wants to be that voice for him.
Right. It's hard to do the right thing. It comes with consequences. But at the end of the day, like, you have to admire the person for being in the right path.
It was 2 visuals for this young boy, right? The first one, they all was there, right? The adopted mom, the adopted dad, the kids, all of them. The second one, they didn't show up because that's when they stopped searching because they feel like the police was heavily against them, that they didn't do it. They believe that he committed suicide, he ran away, or he joined the gang. They said that Jaleik made a comment and said that he didn't want to be with a white family. He wanted to be with a black family because he was biracial. He was half white, half black, but he identified as a black boy. So they said, oh, no, he didn't want to be with us anymore. So the main person in this case is actually the father. The police believe that something happened that day, that the father and the young son got into an argument. He killed him, and that's why he was driving like late at midnight somewhere.
Who saw him driving?
Well, they actually saw him driving. They have recording of him driving at midnight and his phone record. They have that too. They searched everywhere on that property. They had a search. They did canines. They did those. They did everything to search for him in that property. It was one spot that the dogs just kept going to. They searched there like, okay, why do dogs keep going to this one spot? But they didn't see anything. Like the dogs were just attracted to this one area. But they couldn't figure out why the dogs were. They even dig there and everything. They didn't find anything.
So they caught him in a lie. They caught
him in multiple lies.
So why didn't they arrest him?
So if they arrest him, it's like, okay, it's hard to arrest somebody with no body and no evidence.
No, but it's obstruction. When you lie to the police.
Oh yeah, they could arrest him for that too. That's a good point.
Obstruction for justice until they could a lot of the times they pressure people to talk. And so I think that could have kind of scared him a little bit or pressured him to talk.
And that's the craziest thing about it because they know it's him. The police, we all know it's him, but it's hard because if they go for him and they lose the case, they can't recharge him.
They can't charge him again.
Yeah, they can't because it's called double jeopardy. So it's hard to say, hey, we know that he did it. But the hard thing about it, they have no evidence. So did I tell you about the letter that they found? Not the first one, the second one.
There was a second letter?
Yes, it was a second letter. So in January in 2008, a letter went to the Greenwich home. So the parents, they was still there. They haven't moved away yet. So in the letter, it says that Jalik is still alive. We need a foot soldier for the war on drugs. Picked him up on Route 40 post. He's okay, no fakes. He said Mama and Papa, who are the macaroon family, my cat named Diamond. He did have a cat named Diamond. Everything in the letter kind of matched up to what he was saying.
Okay.
But in my head, I feel like anybody could easily write that letter.
Right.
So-called the family. Why would he just... And first of all, how they get mail? They in a rural part of town, ain't it?
Well, I mean, what was the letter saying? Like it was giving them an update? I don't understand.
Yeah, I was giving him an update like, hey, like he's alive. We picked him up. We need a foot soldier. Basically, kind of agreeing with the parents said. He was into, like, he went to a gang.
And why would they write the parents?
The gang not going to write no parents.
The gang is not going to write no parents.
They're not going to write and say, oh, he's alive. They don't, why would they say that? I think it was the parents.
I think it was, what's his name? Stefan?
Mm-hmm. So the police, they went on the news and everything, said, hey, whoever write this letter, let us know, come forward. Nobody came forward. They even look at the family computer to see, did they write the letter? And it didn't seem like they did write the letter.
It was handwritten or typed?
Type. Oh. No, first of all, no gang members.
No gang members gonna type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So his grandmother actually went to jail because she wanted to find evidence that they hurted him. So she broke into their home to find some evidence.
I like this grandmother. I wish my grandma was like that.
It's not funny. Oh, it's not funny. God. I'm sorry, it's not funny. But y'all, she went in the home. She was searching for things.
She found something?
Yeah. So when she got arrested, she told police, hey, I found that yellow jacket that he so-called was wearing that night. Mm-hmm. The police like, oh, for real? She's like, yeah. But they really couldn't use it because she was breaking the interest and she was stealing stuff. So it's like, lady, we can't use what you took. So they tried to go find a jacket. They couldn't because, you know, they hid it by then.
Right.
So, I mean, the grandmama, she's searching her butt off. And one thing about this case, they never did an age progression picture on him.
Aww. And
that was the hardest part about this case. It was like one that somebody kind of did, but you can tell it wasn't done like professionally. This, you cannot find no picture of him like older at all. And that's the hardest part because I'm like, they really not looking for him. Like, I feel like the parents like, oh, we got away with it. We took care of a problem. So, Jaliek Rainwater, he was last seen on November the 1st, 2007 at his residence in Greenwich, New York. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, a yellow fleece pullover, a gray t-shirt with a dragon on the front, and black canvas high-top sneaker. Also note that Jaliek had a slight speech impediment where he pronounced his R's like W. To this day, there have been no update on his case. And that was the case of Jaliek Rainwater.
All right, so now we're jumping into our theory.
I mean, we already have our theories. We have it. I mean, even the police have their theories. I feel like what happened was they got into an argument. He probably said something because they said he had an emotional behavior issue, and he also had like bad temper tantrums. And I feel like it happened that night. And I think Stefan just probably got mad at him, probably beat him up, threw him against the wall, something. We don't know for sure. And I think he died. Or possibly he pushed him against the wall and he hit his head and he stopped breathing then.
Yeah, that makes sense. My points were, I'm no doctor, but it almost seems like he had episodes. I'm thinking he might have been bipolar. Mm-hmm. Or it could have been PTSD. I mean, he had so much trauma. Mm-hmm. He lived through so much. And I feel like he could quickly be triggered. Mm-hmm. And as a young kid, like, he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions, how to manage, his stress levels, his anger. Like, he doesn't know how to do any of that. Mm-hmm. And they did treat him different. Mm-hmm. His foster family treated him different. He was homeschooled. But even so, like, he always tried to look at the positive. He always try to have a smile on his face. But I feel like at the end of the day, like, you can only push a person so far. And Stefan was, in my opinion, very selfish. Because how are you going to use that money to pay for private school and deprive your other kids of something else? Those $7,000 could have gone to a home that everybody could have had their room.
Right.
Everybody could have had running water. They probably wouldn't be in a private school, but everybody would have benefited from those gains.
My thing is, why did one child go to private? I don't know if it was one or all, but I read online that the son was $7,000 for his private school. And I'm like, it's not for no year. Trust me, no private school is no $7,000. Like, for that's no. I looked in some for my child. That's not
It's probably per semester,
per
right?
semester. Yeah, and they could afford, if you think about it. If they get $3,000 just from Jaleik, we don't know how much you get for the other adopted kid.
I mean, $3,000 is well, back then in 2007 when the crisis happened, the housing crisis, $3,000 was enough to live comfortably, be able to pay your bills, your mortgage, electricity, car payment, all of that good stuff. It just, a lot of people have their favorite, and Jaliek probably sensed that, or maybe even asked him about that. And maybe it was a weak spot for Stefan, because he's like, well, you ain't my son. Like, now the only thing that I don't understand is, why would he adopt a kid? I feel like, and I don't know. I mean, when we were going through the process, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but they pay more to foster as opposed to when you adopt.
Right.
When you adopt, you
Get less.
basically become responsible for that person.
Right.
The government will only help you so much, but at the end of the day, like, that's your responsibility. That's what I don't understand. Why would you adopt somebody if it is for the gains? Now, I feel like too, it should be to where if you decide, hey, I don't want to go through this adoption, or say that he did go through the adoption, let me go ahead and reverse it. I feel like the government should honor that.
Right.
Because what is the consequence to somebody who doesn't want a child anymore? You know, their life could be on the line. So I don't feel like it should be a kind of all sales are final type thing. Like, no, you should be able to have a trial period. And then even so, say it's been 2-3 years, if you decide, hey, this isn't working out anymore, hey, give them back to the government, because the alternative can cost somebody's life.
But they tell you, because we have a friend that, she did foster to adopt, and she adopted a little girl, and she tell you, before you sign those papers, they say, hey, this is permanent. Whatever this kid do or emotional issues, everything is on you now. This is your child. And I think, like, a lot of people get into foster care and they're like, oh, something's about the money. And for us, it wasn't even about the money. We was like, hey, we want to get a child an opportunity to, like, have a good life.
Right.
And why we didn't continue is because they say, hey, some of these kids not going to come with a lot of shots. So they're like, because your child is so young, they advise us to, after she's 3, to continue the process, because they want nothing like to happen to her, because a lot of parents are like, hey, I don't want to give my child shots, and they have to respect that until, like, they have, like, lose their rights.
Right.
But I feel like they was in it for the money, and I feel like they wanted a difficult child because they get more money for a difficult child.
That's true.
And that's the sad thing about a lot of foster parents do it for. We just wanted siblings because we didn't want kids to, like, separate.
Right.
But then they're like, oh, let's get a difficult child because we want the money. And that's what a lot of people, I be seeing it, like, on TikTok, on social media. I see a lot of adopted parents are reversing their adoption because I feel like, oh, the excitement is gone. You remember the lady who was over the class? She said it's called the honeymoon stage.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
You do the honeymoon stage, the kid is good, y'all is good, you love this kid, and then out of nowhere, it's over with. And she says happened because a lot of foster parents like go in and like every kid's gonna be easy. But they tell us like, hey, some of these kids come with a difficult background and you have to be able to deal with it.
Right.
Because we had to take extra classes. They're like, hey, you're gonna have to take some extra classes to deal with certain type of kids. You remember they taught us how to hold a kid when they having like a moment.
Right.
So it's like I feel like people really didn't care. Like they just in it for the money. And it showed because he was difficult. And and they tell you like some kids are difficult. They're very difficult. But they never gave him the chance because they stopped taking him to his like didn't give him no medicine. They didn't take him to his like therapy sessions. They didn't do nothing that he needed. And then they said wait, they moved into like a little bitty house. He had more problems because he had no space.
He had no electricity or running water. I'm sorry, I'm still on that. But the thing about it is kind of like how we go through it. And usually it's always the police that I say that failed somebody. I don't think the police really failed him. I know the parents failed him. The adoptive, well, his biological parents failed him since the beginning. And then the adoptive.
You skipping one. The foster care system failed. They should let him be in their home with the people anyway.
The foster care people failed him. CPS failed him. And then his adoptive parents failed him.
And the crazy thing about it, I read it, they was trained in that type of behavior he had. They so-called was trained in it. So if you was trained in it, you could have known like, oh, he needed this.
Obviously, they didn't follow any of the guidelines because they couldn't give him any electricity or running water. I'm sorry, I'm still on that, but
Well, he had limited.
Doesn't matter. You're supposed to have it at any time.
Right. Sure.
And then the fact that he had to go outside to the restroom because he didn't fold the paper a certain type of way. How about he told the foster dad, hey, give me my $3,000 if I have to go pee outside.
And that's what I'm saying. They live in a rural area. What are you spending that money on, first of all?
I don't know.
Because say they're getting $6,000 a month, right? Their son's school is like 7 every semester. So 2 semesters, so $14,000. You can say that up in like what, 2 months? Really?
Yeah.
So it's like, what the crap was y'all doing with the rest of the money? Because y'all weren't paying no bills.
Well, was he into drugs or had any addictions or
Who, the father?
stepfather or the adoptive?
Well, we don't know all of that. They ain't gonna tell us that. But shoot, they were doing some of that money.
Yeah, they didn't really give any facts about what happened that night. They just said after Red Robin.
After Red Robin, they went home. He took a bath. He went to bed. And that was it. But something had to happen that night because he was just staying there for like a day or two. And then he was going to a new foster home. So it's like, I felt like it was an argument that happened. I feel like the little boy probably got mad about something and it broke down.
Yeah, like you keep sending me away. Like, why did you adopt me?
Or he probably didn't want to leave Elaine and Tom's house. He was having a good time. They said he was amazed by himself. Like he walked the dog. He read all her books. She said if he wasn't reading, he was walking a dog or playing. I wonder why they didn't adopt him. I don't think it was their home that the situation with somebody's daughter, because they probably won't let him come back.
Right.
But I wonder what happened that Elaine and Tom didn't, adopt him.
Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You show what people mean with your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at the end of the day, if they wanted to adopt him, they were going to adopt him.
Right.
But I don't think they wanted to adopt him.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can respect that. I'm not holding, because adopting or fostering, that's a huge responsibility.
Right.
So I'm not like talking ill about anybody. I just feel like, yeah, they didn't want to go through with it. And I feel like Stefan shouldn't have gone through with that.
Mm-mm.
But he was just, in my opinion, focused on the money.
But also, who's his next target? Because, with somebody with anger issues and the type of person he is, they always going to have a target.
Right.
So who is his next target in their household? Because I don't know how many years, 2007? How many years has that been?
Like 17 years? 17 years.
So we don't say 17 years. I'm so sorry. That's our calculation. We don't have our phone. So at 17 years, gosh, them kids should be adults by now. Shouldn't they be? Yeah, they should be. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Dude. He went missing when he was 12, and he was born in 1995. Guys, I'm so sorry. He's a year older than me. Just did that math. So them kids have to be like, they should be like in their early 20s or late 20s by now. So I wonder if they ever gonna come out and speak out, because they don't know what happened that night. They wasn't there. But I wonder if they will come out and say, hey, this was happening in our household. Yeah. I think that could fix a lot if they actually came out and spoke about what was happening in their household. Because I know, I'm going to be, I don't know for sure, but I can feel that the little boy had problems. Mm-hmm. He was addicted to drugs at a young age. That can mess up a kid in a lot of certain ways. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he didn't have the proper people in his life to guide him right, because they put him in a certain type of foster care for that reason. But he didn't get it. And that's the crazy thing about it. You put him in this to get the help that he need, and he didn't even get the help.
Well, yeah, everybody's just trying to pass him on to the next person. And the next person is like, well, I just want you for the money, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So
my grandma always say, all money ain't good money.
Right. I just wonder, there was another kid you said that they were fostering or they adopted.
Adopted.
So I want to hear kind of what they have to say about
it. Because they had this, almost the same type of problem as the young boy, but there was still a type of foster care. They was in the same one, so therapeutic.
Yeah. But I don't know. To me, it's just kind of inhumane that they made him go outside to the restroom. Like, to me, you don't really have a heart.
He almost drowned him because he did something. We don't know what he did. The grandmama said she saw him physically abuse and almost drowned him.
I mean, he treated him like an animal, or worse than an animal. You know, because I wouldn't even try and drown an animal. The only thing is, hey, you got to go potty outside. But no, like, worse than an animal.
That would treat you like unhuman a little bit. Like, go outside because he didn't do the tissue right. What's the way right to the tissue?
Yeah.
He's a little boy. He's 12. They gonna make mistakes. They gonna forget. I even forget sometimes.
I mean, yeah, when you change the toilet paper, I like it to go over. Sometimes you put it under.
I don't care. I just like put it on. And sometimes your child likes to mess with it too as I'm putting it on.
But I'm not going to drown you for it.
Please don't drown me for it.
I'm not going to tell you to go outside.
Well, I pay the bills, so I'm like, I pay half the bills, so I'm like,
well, he was paying half the bills too.
Right. He was paying all the bills probably.
So, I mean, that was it.
They in a rural part of New York with no running water. And like, come on now, what bills you paying?
Yeah, no.
You don't got no TV bill? What, food probably?
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of want to get more information on how they, like, what happened that night. Like, it's not very detailed.
I feel like, I'm being honest, and I'm probably going to be mad. I think it was really an accident what happened that night. I think it was an accident.
You don't think it was planned?
I don't think it was planned because he was sending him away the next day.
That's true. That makes no sense.
So, because if I'm sending him away the next day, because he already had another foster home ready for him the next day. So I feel like something happened that night. They probably got in a fight. He probably didn't do something right.
Or he probably tortured him again. I mean, so he probably just tortured him again.
Yeah.
And maybe took it a step too far.
So speaking of New York, because this case is actually in New York, I came across a podcast. It's called New York Dark Side.
Oh.
So this lady, she does cases only in New York. And my dream place was to visit New York a little bit. But like, here's some of her cases. I'm like, I'm going to stay at home. I don't want to visit New York anymore. I'm scared.
I've just heard about the rats and that is enough for me.
Right. But she goes from early 80s, 70s, and even now updated cases. So please check out New York Dark Side by Amanda Morgan and tell her I sent you because, girl, your case in your podcast is amazing. And this is Lesbian Detectives, and we are signing out. See you next week, and please give us 5-star reviews, download our episode, and also follow us on Apple and Spotify, and also hit that notification button because you gonna miss an episode when it's hit if you don't. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are signing out. Timothy, it's time to take over.